Hey guys, so today I wanted to show you my portfolio that I submitted for the application for the Design BA for Brigham Young University. I am really happy to say that I was accepted, so it's actually taken me about 5 years because I started in the graphic design program in 2017. In 2020 I submitted a portfolio and was rejected for the graphic design program. Now it's 2022 and I submitted my portfolio for the Design BA program, which is actually a different program which is graphic design and illustration based, a mixture of both of them actually. And I was accepted and I'm really happy to finally say that I have a major. Luckily I've been completing all of my general education credits, so it hasn't been a big deal, but I basically will be graduating in another 2 or 3 years, but I'm finally in the major that I really love, so I'm super excited to finally be in it for sure. So today I wanted to talk to you about how I prepared for the design portfolio, how I decided to put each of these pieces in, and how it ended up going in the end, because there were some crazy things that ended up happening. But first of all, there's a few things that I did to prepare for the Design BA, and one application that I used to help me was Notion, not sponsored. I just saw another artist use it. And this was super helpful because it helped me to organize all my thoughts and to kind of figure out what I needed to get done for all of the requirements. The first thing I did though is I kind of made a list of stories I wanted to tell, and specifically for the Design BA. And I thought of the question, like, what do I want to tell the world? I actually am very bad with doing this in my personal art. I usually just kind of draw what makes me feel good and what I think would be fun to draw, like fan art or draw this in your style or something like that. But I kind of decided I needed to do something a little bit deeper, especially for the design portfolio. So there was a few things that I felt like would be kind of interesting for me personally as the individual I am to tell a story about. So I'm half Japanese and I deal with anxiety. There's stuff about acne and stuff like that. These are just kind of insecurities that I thought would be interesting to tell a story about and I could have a unique perspective about. And so if you're trying to make a design portfolio, an art portfolio, that's something I would highly suggest you do, is kind of think about that question, what do you want to tell the world? And then make a list. I actually I have a little bit deeper things I wrote about under each thing, and I marked down the specific ones that I thought would be interesting to show visually. I just highlighted them. But that's what I would suggest to do first before you start your design portfolio, is to kind of think about some ideas before you get going on projects. Another thing I found helpful was to write down the requirements that were needed for the application and to kind of highlight the different things that they were specifically looking for. And after I did that, I went and I looked at my prerequisite projects that I had done in different classes, and I kind of figured out what were the best and most interesting projects and came up with even a few new ideas going off of those same prompts. I already did have some ones I liked from my previous classes. However, most of them were from a couple years ago, so I kind of felt like I either wanted to redo them or I was going to scrap them. But that is something that if you have some prerequisite projects and you don't want to make totally new projects all at once, I think this would be a really helpful thing to do. And I know for my application that they wanted to have some prerequisite class projects. So my application also had some creative exercises to do, and I'll be able to kind of show you a little bit more in depth when I get into the actual projects and works that I submitted for the design portfolio. So now we get into the actual works that I submitted for the design portfolio. For my portfolio, you could do between 8 and 12 portfolio pieces, and then there was 2 creative exercises. And I decided to do 8 portfolio pieces because I was really behind and I didn't know even actually I could get 8, but luckily I did. And then I had the 2 creative exercises. So I had a total of 10 works in my design portfolio that I submitted for the application. So I also wanted to get a little bit into how I decided to put each of these works into my portfolio, and also get into what each piece meant to me and what its specific goal was for being in my portfolio. So the first project that I actually put in was a book cover project that I had done for kind of like a design lecture class. And I don't know if you guys have seen the cover for The Great Gatsby. I'll show a picture of what it looks like, but it's like super weird looking, and I would probably never have decided to read the book on its own if I had just seen it on a shelf. But I thought that you can make this cover like way more enticing to read. So if you've ever read The Great Gatsby, there's a lot of emphasis on the color green and yellow, and there's talk of this green light, and it's a very prevalent theme and symbol in the book. When I looked up The Great Gatsby book online, there actually surprisingly weren't very many green covers, which I was really surprised about because this is like one of the most prevalent symbols in the whole entire book. And so I wanted to make the cover have a lot of green. And also, if you've read the book, the yellow car that Gatsby has is also a really prevalent symbol in the book and a really prevalent kind of plot point in the book. And so I wanted to add that as one of the main things on the cover. Also, if you've read the book, you know that it was in the Roaring 20s, and in the Roaring 20s, Art Deco was a really big form of art. It was the biggest art movement at the time. And so I wanted to add some details of Art Deco into the piece. So if you look a little closer, there are some little kind of details of Art Deco. I made the opacity a little bit more down so it was a little bit more subtle. And then I also wanted to make it seem like there was a lot of movement in the piece. So you kind of see this like kind of motion blur type thing where I duplicated the background a bit because this book is kind of crazy. There's a lot of commotion, a lot of drama, and so I wanted to bring that to the cover to kind of give a sense of what this book was. And then there's like all these lights, kind of show lights, and the city background that's New York. So this is kind of what I came up with. I can actually show what it previously looked like, but this is what it looks like now and what it looked like before. So I feel like I improved a lot since 2017. I've been working at a job doing graphic design, so I thought this piece would be something that wouldn't be too time consuming because I had already had it done basically and I just needed to do some updates to it. But this is the first piece I had, and I put it here kind of to show that I have some graphic design capabilities. I knew how to use Photoshop and I knew what to do with text. I don't think a majority of my pieces use text, so this is something where I wanted to really showcase that. The next piece is this portrait that I did. It's a digital portrait that I made in Procreate, and it's actually based off a Pinterest picture, but don't let them know that. I really thought it was a cool piece though. I thought that it was really interesting because there's the negative space of the hand, and you see this guy looking through and he's got a cut lip, and it kind of tells a story. The clouds are super pretty in it, but I thought I would put this piece in because I thought it was going to show off my illustration technique and able to show that I can do both graphic design and illustration pretty equally. So this one doesn't really have an actual like deeper meaning behind it, but I thought it would be cool to see. So then I actually wasn't expecting to put this drawing in. It's kind of a more stylized, cartoony type drawing, but I thought it would be a really good contrast to the realistic portrait I just put in. It's very simple, it's cottagecore, and I thought it would be really cute. It actually is to draw this in your style, but don't tell them. I did change up the pose and everything, but I thought it would be kind of good to show my technique and skill to do more stylized things, and I also am really proud of this one. But yeah, this one's like, there wasn't really a deeper meaning obviously behind it, but I just thought it would be really cute to put in. The next one I also like probably wouldn't have put in. Like all of these I was like, I don't know if I would have put it in, but it ended up being to my benefit, I guess. This is actually a physical piece that I had done with acrylic and Sharpie, felt pen, colored pencil, and I felt like I needed more physical things. I think this is the only actual like physical traditional or it's not even a drawing, but traditional painting, I guess, that is in my portfolio, which is, I think, probably frowned upon, which I would not suggest you do. The prompt we were given was just to use repetition and use closure, which is like not fully completing something, but your eye kind of completes it. So I used like this cent sign over and over again. But yeah, it's kind of just this really bold piece, and I normally don't really do abstract pieces, so this is a little bit different, and maybe it was something good for them to see that I can do kind of a different type of art style that's much more loose and non-accurate, but I decided to put that there for mostly for the reason that it's a traditional piece. This next piece I actually also submitted for my graphic design portfolio from 2 years ago. It was originally printed in Riso, which is like when you can have two different colors kind of overlap and there's like lots of negative space and stuff like that. So the pink and the yellow were actually different layers and they were going to be printed on top of each other. But this is just the digital file. There is actually a deeper meaning to this picture. It's about when like my boyfriend was in Iceland and I was in Hawaii, and just like the feeling of being separated and not being able to fully reach each other. And the negative space is actually like the yellow in it is two hands like that are holding each other. And then there's like these tears that I just put there, like I drew them out. And then there's the reaching, there's hands reaching for each other. And then there's also in here Oahu, like a little outline of Oahu and an outline of Iceland, because that's where we both were. And so it's kind of like to show my sadness, but also to show like, I mean, the colors are not very sad, and I thought it was a good contrast because it was just like showing that it's kind of, although it's sad, there's a sad idea that we aren't together, it's going to be happy in the end. And it's pretty simple. Like I said, I did it like 2 years ago, but I thought it was kind of graphic and would be able to show my graphic design capabilities, because again, this design BA is both illustration and graphic design, so I really need to show that I could do both. But yeah, so I thought this would be kind of a good piece to show that. This is another piece that I did not expect to put in. I put it in last minute. It's just another digital portrait piece that I did in Procreate. Again, I do most things in Procreate. It's a little bit different than a regular portrait. So it's a close-up. You can kind of see the technical capabilities that I have, and you can see the detail work that I did. And I thought it was just good to show my digital painting style, and I'm able to show like my capabilities of doing digital portraits. So there wasn't really a deeper meaning behind this one. I just thought it looked good and it was a good work that I had. So yeah, but I thought it's a really cute and pretty piece. That's why I decided to put it in. Now, this piece is especially one that I really put my heart into. It is much deeper than the rest of my other pieces, and it's the first piece I did when I was trying to make this portfolio. It really is kind of my inner feelings, and it's my inner feelings about being half Japanese and half Caucasian, half American, I don't know. And these are kind of thoughts I've had for a long time, and as you can see, like on the bottom, there's like a clipboard that says like, what are you? And this says pick one, Caucasian, Asian. And this is something that's like always on surveys, and I feel like for some reason government documents and like doctors' applications, or doctors' like forms, I guess. And I never know what to pick. There's other, and then I often just pick other, and there's never like mixed race. Sometimes there is, but mixed race is so general, it doesn't even like give you an option to choose to. But it's hard because it's like, I'm not just one, I need to pick both. They tell you just to pick one. Even for my application for BYU, I'm pretty sure I had to say like I was just Asian or something like that, and that's what I usually do. It wouldn't let me pick both. But as you can see, this is like a self-portrait of me. I'm standing on like this height thing, and it goes through all the different aspects of me physically that are from the different cultures. My height's from like my Japanese culture. I'm very short. I'm like 5'2" or 3. There's the longer face, so I don't really fit in exactly in that way to Japanese culture. That comes from my American side. Wide hips, thick thighs, that kind of comes more from my American side. Short legs is from my Japanese side. I'm super short. I decided to put this in because I thought it was actually showing more of my personality and was way deeper. And at the end of drawing this portrait, it was pretty plain, and so I decided to add this texture actually onto it. And it's just like kind of like a crumpled paper texture, but I really liked it because you can see like how it crumples right over the what are you, and it's just kind of all crumpled over the picture. And I thought it would be kind of fitting because it feels like it's kind of like this inner turmoil, and it's not fully like smooth, this idea. It's not very concise, and the piece was actually very plain before, and so I thought this really brought out a different aspect to it. And something I really like to do is I really like to use textures. I like to just overlay them, so this was really fun to use this texture on top of it. The next one I have is something where I kind of use sonar imagery on top of this national park called Zion National Park, and I used reoccurring lines and just basically traced it, but I thought it would be really cool kind of graphically to show all the different, I don't know if you've seen like Avatar The Last Airbender, but like when Toph like stomps, it like shows the whole like imagery, but it's like in lines or something like that. And this is kind of like that, but it's, I feel like, a very non-traditional way of showing a landscape. So I thought it'd be a really cool thing to show that I can do some kind of more abstract. It's kind of like also realistic in a way, but it is abstract. So I used the contrasting colors of the yellow and the blue to kind of bring out both of them. And I also added a texture. This is not done traditionally. I just added this kind of like paper texture on top, which I feel like kind of makes it look a little bit more cool. So yeah, it's kind of this weird concept. I found the concept on Pinterest, but I thought it'd be cool to do this landscape because it's very like bumpy, and there's a lot of mountains. So yeah, I thought it would kind of show that technique that I can do more graphic and abstract type work. Now this piece is one of my favorite pieces. I love this piece. I felt like I really was able to show my creativity. So this is one of the creative exercises where we were supposed to repurpose a really simple object and then show all the different ways that you could use that object in a kind of visual format. And so my dog at the time actually had surgery and was having a cone on him. And so I was watching him on the couch just with his cone. I was trying to figure out my object. And I was like, that would be a really cool, unique idea, I think. I don't think anyone else would use this idea. So I had this like picture of my dog. I drew it just like as a little drawing with him with the cone on, and I'm like, how can I display all these like ideas about how to repurpose the cone? So I thought to put the ideas like on the cone and kind of like make it look like they're just like inside or just like pasted like on the outside of the cone, and then just have this reoccurring dachshund like back and forth. And I thought that'd be a super cute, fun idea. And if you look a little closer, like the ideas are kind of wacky. Like some of them like are kind of weird, but also some of them are pretty practical. But I thought it was a really fun idea and was a good way to show that I can like display data and also show things in a creative way. And I also used a texture. I have this like graph paper kind of look, and yeah, so I thought it would be a really cool, unique way of showing off the different ways you can repurpose a dog cone. It's super weird, but I'm really proud of this one. And this is the finale of all of my art pieces. This is one that was a creative exercise as well, and we needed to use these shapes that I will show here, and we needed to repurpose them or manipulate them or alter them, embellish them, and then create anything we wanted basically. They actually used this basically same thing, the same idea for the graphic design portfolio 2 years ago. So I'll show what I did. It was super simple, and I'm pretty sure I did it the day that the portfolio was due, so it was not very good. But this, I felt like I was like really proud of. I used 3D design capabilities in Photoshop, which you can actually make like any shape into, or I'm pretty sure any object into a 3D object. And so I decided to do that with all of the different shapes and then kind of make some cool display. And I did not know what I was gonna do for the display of like how I was gonna put all these different shapes together, but as I was going through, it kind of looked like a flower, and so I decided to like put the little pink at the top, and it looked like tulips. It's kind of like a weird abstract tulip, but I thought it was really cool to show my capabilities of what I can do, especially graphically. And I also in the background like have this Ben-Day dot texture as well as on the flowers and on the stem and stuff, and I thought it was kind of like pop arty and kind of like comic-y, and it was kind of cool because it's like almost like this flower is like popping up. And yeah, this is the last piece I had. I thought it would be a really good way to end because it's kind of different. It's this 3D object, which is different than my traditional flat drawings, and so I thought this would be a good finale. So as you saw, there was a lot of pieces that I had no idea were actually going to end up in my portfolio, but had to end up in my portfolio because actually my portfolio is semi-late. it was 11:59 and I was on the page where you had to submit like your credit card information, and I was typing as fast as I could, and then it hit 12 and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I just missed the deadline and I am so freaking sad. This is like, I think I just like missed my opportunity. I did all this work and I had all these like written responses that were not good at all. Like they were not very in-depth or showing like any personality. And also apparently like I did not put some of the writing in the right text box, so it actually was a text box that like could only have 15 words or something like that, and it cut it off. And so my descriptions of all my drawings were actually not even there, so it was really, really bad. But I found out once it hit 12 a.m. it said grace period 1 day 24 hours, and I was like, wait, what the heck, do I have a little bit more time? And I did. So I actually was able to go in, redo some of my writing responses, actually but refine some of my art pieces, make him exactly how I wanted, add the pieces that I wanted to fulfill the 8 and make sure it was fully exactly the order I wanted and everything. And it ended up working out really well. I stayed up till 5:30 doing all this, and I felt actually really, really proud of my portfolio. But I was super worried once I got done with all of it, because I was like, are they gonna see that it's late? Are they gonna even accept me because it's late? And so I waited in much anxiety until about a week later, when I got an email telling me that I was an applicant, that they were thinking about me, and I just needed to do an interview with one of their faculty. So I did an interview with one of our illustration professors that we have, and he was basically like, yeah, you're basically in, we really liked your portfolio and we see you have a lot of skill, but like, why do you think you're a good fit for this major? Because this is kind of like a more obscure major that not many people go into. It's like a 25% acceptance rate and 20 people get in, but that basically means that like not very many people apply for it. So they were trying to figure out like, why do you want to go for this and not just graphic design or not just illustration? So I kind of explained myself and why I felt like I was a good fit, and they told me that they would get back to me within a few days and tell me if I'm officially in. And I waited a few days and I hadn't heard back, and I was getting super nervous. I had already told people that I thought that I was basically in. It was a week later and I decided to email like one of the staff for the design department. I was like, hey, are they like going to give out that information, or am I in, or like how does it work? And they said like, oh, we actually are getting to it today, and you're gonna know today if you're in. So I was like, oh, okay. So I waited a few hours, and then while I was at work, I got an email telling me that I was accepted, and I was so happy, because like I said, it's been years that I've been trying to get a major basically. I haven't applied like all the time to different majors or anything, but I was so nervous that I was going to be rejected that I waited a really long time to apply for a major. But I got in, and I was so overwhelmed with happiness. It was so crazy to me that I actually was in an art program, because I felt like I was never good enough, and I thought that I would never be able to get in. And so now I am currently I'm in the design BA program at Brigham Young University. I'm going to be starting in the fall. The cool thing about this program, and unlike the other graphic design or illustration programs, is that there is only one application process. So you're in once you submit your portfolio and they accept you, versus the other programs, they have 2 applications, a pre-BFA and then a BFA. So I was so happy, because like, it's for sure that I have a major I'm in, and I'm going to be doing this program. I am so excited to be able to move on and actually do some more art, and to be able to kind of show my capabilities as an artist, and eventually be able to get a job actually in this field. So I'm so happy, and this is something that I never thought would be possible for me, like I said. So overall, like, I just want to let everyone know it is possible if you really try your hardest. If you keep practicing, and you got to see my work from like literally like 2 or 3 years ago, or even like, you should see it when I first applied. It was nothing near what I have now, and that is due to practice. So, and also like seriously believing in myself, because I really didn't think I could do it back then. So I just want to let you know that like, I literally believe this with all my heart. It is possible for anyone to get into these programs. It just takes some work. So yeah, I'm really happy to be able to share some of my pieces with you, and I'm really proud of them, and I can't wait to be able to show more of what I create for the design program and also just in my personal work. So thanks so much for watching, and I'm really excited to be able to share more of my artwork as we go on. So make sure to like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.